In this video, I will tell you about the inheritance property of blocks. So here we have this drawing in which we have two different blocks. Now both of these blocks will behave in a very different way when they are put on different layers. So I'll first switch my layer to layer 2 and now I'll insert both of these blocks one by one. So let's go to this blocks flyout and let's select this chair, the first one. And here we have it. So in this case, the block has been inserted on layer 2, which has red color, but still the color of this block is unchanged and it's taking the initial color of its objects. Let's go to the insert again, and this time I'll select this desk chair. And now we have this chair, and in this case, although the original block was made on layer 0, but it is taking the properties of layer 2 or the layer on which it is inserted. So what's going on here? To test this and to find out the reason, I'll go to the block editor. So let's select the first block, then right click and go to block editor. Now here we have our block, which is currently in green color, and when you go to the home tab and when you select the complete set of objects, you'll notice that they are on layer 1. Now whenever any object is made on layer other than layer 0, then its layer assignment will not change when it is converted to a block. That is what is happening here with this block. So currently all of these objects are on layer 1, and now this object has been converted into a block. So the original layer 1 properties will be retained everywhere when the block is inserted. So now I will simply go to block editor and I'll close it. Now let's check this block. So I'll go to this block and I'll select block editor. Here in this case, when you select the complete set of objects, you will notice that it's on layer 0. And now this layer 0 has a special significance. Now any object which is made on layer 0 will take the properties of the target layer when the blocks are made. So by using these objects which are on layer 0, we are making a block, and when this block is inserted on any other layer, it's taking the property of that layer. So that's the difference between layer 0 and the remaining layers. So we can conclude that whenever an object is made on layer 0 and it is converted into a block, the block will take properties of its final layer, or it will take the property of layer in which it has been placed. But if an object of layer other than layer 0 is converted into a block and then it is put on any other layer, it will never take the properties of its target layer, and it will always retain the properties of its initial layer on which it was made. So that is what's happening here. Now let's close this block editor. Now in both the cases, we will change some of the properties which are related to this block and we'll see its effect. So once again, I'll select the block and I'll go to block editor. Now I'll select this block completely and let's go to home tab and simply change its layer assignment. So I'll change its layer to layer 0, and as you can see that the layer 0 has white color, and I'll close the block editor and I'll save the changes. Now let's look at the block here. Now the block is taking the property of its target layer because we have assigned layer 0 to this object. Also, when you notice this one, the initial block, it's also taking the properties of its target layer, which is layer 0. Now let's go to block editor and I'll return all of these objects back to layer 1. And let's close this block editor. Now what if we try to change individual properties of these blocks? So I'll select this block, the block which was not made on layer 0, and I'll go to this properties and I'll change its property to yellow, and its color is still green. Now I'll select it once again and I'll change some other color. Maybe this time it will change, but no, there is no change. Now even though when you select this block, you'll notice that the color of its layer is red, and we have assigned an additional property of blue color, still it's taking its initial color, which was green. Now let's repeat the process with this block in which we have made this object on layer 0. Now here you can clearly see that the layer color is red, which it has, and also the property is by layer. That's why it is taking the properties of its layer. Now let's override this and let's change its properties to blue and let's see what's happening. So here again, even when we are changing the properties, we are overriding it. Still there is no change in both of these objects. If you try to do it with this object, you'll see the same effect. So no matter how you change the properties of these objects, they will always take the property of their layers. But you can change that as well. To change it, you need to change their properties. So I'll first select both of them, and from the property I'll select by layer. Also in this case, let's select by layer. Now let's select this block, right click and go to block editor. And in this case, once again, I'll select the complete set of blocks, go to home tab, and now I'll change a simple property. I'll not change anything in the layers panel. I'll go to this properties panel, and from here, instead of by layer, I'll change the property to by block. Now the block will take the property which are assigned to it, and it will not take the properties of the layer. So let's close the block editor. And I'll repeat the process for this second block also. So I'll go to block editor, and here also I'll select the complete block, go to home tab, go to properties and change it to by block. So once again, in this case also, it will always override the properties of its layer. So currently in both of these cases, they are taking the property of their layer. Now let's change the property of this first block from the property panel. Now I'll change its color to blue. And here we have it. The color of this block now changed. So even when this object or this block is on layer 2, a new color has been assigned, which is blue. Now I'll repeat the process for the second one also. Here also, we know that its properties are by block. So whatever the property is assigned to the block will be taken up like this. So in this case also, the object is on layer 2, which has red color. Still it's taking the property of color which we have assigned. So if you change its properties to by block, the block will always take properties which we override or which we assign, and it will always take priority over the properties of the layer. So this may be a little bit confusing to you in the beginning, but with practice you will get really good at this inheritance, and you'll be able to identify the difference between these properties and these overrides. So that was all about the inheritance in blocks.